The first scream was swallowed by the city. New York at night had its own kind of music. Sirens in the distance, car horns, the low hum of subways running beneath cracked pavement. But on the corner of Delancey and Norfolk, in a deserted construction site, the sound was different. It wasn't the city's voice. It was human, desperate, and then it was gone. The boy's name was Ethan Miller, 15 years old, gone missing after basketball practice. His mother called the police at 10:32 p.m. By 10:35, she knew no one was coming to save him. Not really, because in New York, kids vanished all the time. Detective Michael Rourke had been on the job for 20 years. He had seen enough to know that some cases weren't meant to be solved. Some files were stamped ongoing investigation and left to rot in the archives. Not because the cops didn't care, but because somebody much bigger didn't want answers. He lit a cigarette outside the Miller apartment, ignoring the no smoking sign taped to the lobby door. His partner, Detective Ana Delgado, shot him a look. Delgado, it's a missing kid, Mike. We're supposed to care. Rourke, we care. The department doesn't. Big difference. By morning, Ethan's face was on the local news. By evening, whispers started. It wasn't random. His father, a small-time accountant, had ties to something bigger. Ethan was taken as a message. But a message from who? The first lead. 2 days later, a manila envelope appeared on Rourke's desk. No return address. No explanation. Inside, a photo of Ethan, alive, blindfolded, tied to a chair, and a single word scrawled on the back. Ledger. Delgado stared at it, her hands shaking. What the hell does that mean? Rourke exhaled smoke, his jaw tight. It means the kid's life is tied to money, and money means power. The ledger. The word wasn't new to Rourke. Years back, there had been rumors. A black book, kept by the Moretti crime family, filled with names, payments, and secrets. Politicians, cops, judges, all bought and paid for. The kind of thing that could bring down half the city if it ever saw daylight. Problem was, the ledger supposedly burned in a warehouse fire 10 years ago. But maybe it hadn't. Maybe Ethan's kidnapping was about finding it. The threat. That night, Rourke's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered, and a gravel voice rasped through the line. Voice. Detective Rourke. Stop digging. The boy is leverage, nothing more. If you want him alive, forget the ledger. Forget everything. Or we send him back in pieces. The line went dead. Delgado's face paled. They know your name. They know we're on this. Rourke crushed his cigarette into the ashtray, staring at the photo of Ethan Miller. No, they want us scared, and they want us quiet, which means the ledger exists, and someone in this city is willing to kill a kid over it. And just like that, Rourke knew this wasn't just another missing kid case. It was the start of a war. Detective Michael Rourke didn't sleep that night. He poured whiskey into his coffee, sat by the window of his crumbling Brooklyn apartment, and replayed the phone call over and over. The voice, the threat, the word, ledger. It gnawed at him. He had heard it whispered before in smoke-filled bars where off-duty cops drank beside men they were supposed to be arresting. A black book that tied the whole city together like veins under skin. It was myth and monster in one. But now, a 15-year-old boy's life hung on whether it was real. The warning. At 7 a.m., his phone buzzed again. A text message, no number attached. Check your car. Rourke's gut tightened. He grabbed his gun, holstered it, and went downstairs. The morning rain made the street shine like oil. His Buick sat crooked against the curb, a cigarette but still smoldering on the hood. He opened the driver's door. On the seat was a single Polaroid photo. Ethan Miller again. This time his lips were split, his face swollen, and a bruised fist hovered in the corner of the frame. On the bottom edge of the Polaroid, scrawled in red marker, 72 hours. Rourke's jaw clenched. He pocketed the photo, scanning the street. Nobody lingered, but somebody had been close enough to slip this into his car. Too close. The suspect. By noon, Delgado pulled Rourke into the precinct's records room. She had dark circles under her eyes, her hands full of coffee cups. Delgado, I ran Ethan's dad, Daniel Miller, small-time accountant like we thought. But 3 months ago, he started getting cash deposits. Big ones. Offshore transfers. Russian banks. Rourke, money laundering. Delgado, exactly. And guess who his last employer was? She slid a folder across the table. The name Anthony Moretti stared back at him. Anthony Tony Moretti, 48. Head of the Moretti crime family. Clean record. At least on paper. But the city whispered about the bodies, the bribes, the missing witnesses. Everyone knew, but no one could prove a thing. If Daniel Miller had stumbled into Moretti's business, maybe he had touched something he shouldn't have. Maybe he had seen the ledger. And maybe that was why his kid was gone. The visit. That night, Rourke and Delgado drove to Moretti's club. The Crimson Room, a velvet-draped palace where crime hid in plain sight. The bouncer at the door clocked Rourke's badge and smirked. Detective, you want a table? Or trouble? Rourke shoved past him. Both. Inside, smoke curled from cigars, jazz spilled from the stage, and men in tailored suits laughed too loud. At the center booth sat Tony Moretti. Slick black hair, diamond cufflinks, and the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. He raised his glass when he saw them. Detectives, what an honor. To what do I owe this disturbance? Rourke dropped the Polaroid on the table. Ethan's swollen face stared up at them. Where's the boy? Moretti's smile never wavered. Tragic, truly, but you're barking up the wrong tree. Kids go missing every day in this city. And you think it's me? Delgado leaned in, voice sharp. His father worked for you. He was laundering money. Where's Ethan? Moretti's hand brushed the photo aside like it was trash. His men shifted in their seats, hands near their jackets. You're trespassing in my house, detective. I'll give you one warning. Stop digging. Or the dirt swallows you, too. The break-in. That night, Rourke's apartment was ransacked. Drawers pulled out, papers scattered, whiskey bottles smashed. But nothing was stolen. Not his gun. Not his badge. Just a warning, loud and clear. We own you. Delgado arrived, her eyes wide. They're watching us, Mike. We're not just poking the bear, we're inside the cage. Rourke sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the wreckage. His fists tightened. No, they think we'll back down. That's their mistake. The hidden file. 2 days later, Delgado found something. A paper trail buried in old case files. A warehouse fire from 10 years ago. Officially ruled an accident. Unofficially, the same warehouse where the ledger was rumored to have been kept. And in the corner of the report, one survivor. A name, Vincent Caro. A low-level soldier in the Moretti family. Presumed dead. But Delgado had tracked him to a rundown motel in Queens, living under a fake name. If the ledger exists, she whispered, Caro's the only one who's seen it. The motel. They found him in room 12, curtains drawn, TV buzzing static. Vincent Caro looked like a ghost of himself. Gaunt, trembling hands, eyes darting like a hunted animal. When he saw the badges, he nearly bolted. Rourke shoved him back into the chair. Relax. We're not here to cuff you. We want information. Caro's voice cracked. You don't get it. They'll kill me. They'll kill anyone who even says the word. Delgado knelt beside him. Ledger. Where is it? Caro's hands shook. He pulled out a cigarette, lit it with trembling fingers. His voice was barely a whisper. I saw it once. Black book. Names, dates, payments, judges, cops, senators. Moretti kept it locked in the warehouse. When the fire started, I thought it was gone. But I heard he made a copy. Kept it somewhere safe. Maybe in the bank. Maybe in the club. I don't know. But if they think the Miller kid's father had it. His eyes darted to the door. His cigarette ash spilled onto the floor. They'll burn the whole city to keep it quiet. Before Rourke could press him further, headlights flared outside the motel. Black SUV. Doors opening. Heavy boots hitting the pavement. Delgado's eyes widened. They found us. The shootout. Bullets shattered the motel windows before they hit the floor. Rourke dragged Caro down, gun drawn. Delgado fired back, glass raining across the room. Caro screamed, clutching his arm as blood spread through his sleeve. Rourke returned fire, dropping one of the masked men outside. Delgado pulled Caro toward the bathroom, her voice frantic. "Move! Now!" But as Rourke fired his last round, he realized something chilling. They hadn't come to kill Caro. They had come to erase him. When the smoke cleared, Caro was gone. A single shot through the head. Executed. Rourke's chest burned as he stared at the lifeless body. Delgado whispered, trembling, "They're one step ahead of us. Always." Rourke's jaw tightened. "Not this time. If the ledger's real, we find it. Before they bury us all." The sirens didn't come for 30 minutes. By then, the killers were gone. The motel reeked of gunpowder and blood. Caro's lifeless eyes stared at the ceiling, the cigarette still burning between his fingers. Rourke crouched beside him, chest heaving. "He was our only lead." Delgado's voice was cold, almost breaking. "No, he gave us something. He said there was a copy. The ledger's still out there. And now we know they'll kill anyone who even breathes near it." Rourke pulled the cigarette from Caro's stiff hand, staring at the glowing ember. "They killed him because he knew too much, which means we're finally on the right trail." The Internal Affairs visit. The next morning, 2 suits from Internal Affairs showed up at the precinct. They weren't smiling. One slid a file across Rourke's desk. "Motel shootout. Witness dead. That's 2 bodies in a week tied to you, Detective Rourke. Care to explain?" Rourke leaned back, lighting a cigarette. "Explain? You think I pulled the trigger on Caro? He was our lead. Somebody wanted him silenced. And it wasn't me." The IA agent's eyes narrowed. "Careful, Detective. You're treading on thin ice. Drop this case. Hand it over." Delgado snapped. "You're kidding, right? A kid's life is on the line. You're telling us to walk away." The agents exchanged a look. One of them smirked. "Exactly. Forget the boy. Forget the ledger. Or you'll lose your badge." When they left, Delgado slammed her fist against the wall. "They're in on it. Jesus, Mike, Internal Affairs. They're protecting Moretti." Rourke stared at the file they'd left behind, smoke curling from his cigarette. "Not just Moretti. The ledger ties half this city together. IA, judges, senators, hell, maybe even the chief. We're not just chasing ghosts. We're chasing the system itself." The Miller confession. That night, Rourke went back to the Miller apartment. Ethan's father, Daniel, answered the door with red-rimmed eyes and trembling hands. "Detective," he whispered, "they'll kill me if I talk." Rourke shoved past him. "They'll kill your son if you don't." Daniel broke. He poured whiskey into a chipped glass, his hands shaking so hard the liquid spilled. "I found it," he muttered. "I didn't mean to. I was balancing Moretti's accounts. Offshore transfers, shell companies. And there it was. A copy. Not the book itself, but scans. Digital. Hundreds of pages. Names, amounts, everything. I saved it. I thought maybe one day I could use it as leverage." Delgado's voice was ice. "And they found out." Daniel nodded, tears spilling down his cheeks. "They took Ethan to keep me quiet. I deleted the files, I swear. But they don't believe me. They won't stop until they're sure it's gone." Rourke grabbed him by the collar, fury boiling in his chest. "You played with fire, Miller. And now your kid is paying the price." The safe deposit box. Delgado pulled Rourke aside, whispering. If Miller had scans, he backed them up. Guys like him don't just delete and forget. We need to check banks. Safety deposit boxes. She was right. By morning, they traced Miller's accounts to a small private bank in Manhattan. Quiet, discreet, the kind of place where dirty money went to sleep. Inside, the manager grew pale when Rourke flashed his badge. "Box number 317, Miller stammered. The manager led them to the vault. The box slid open with a screech. Inside, a USB drive, tucked inside an envelope marked with one word, Insurance. Rourke's pulse quickened as he turned the drive over in his hand. This was it. The ledger. The ambush. They didn't make it out of the bank. 2 black SUVs screeched up to the curb. Masked men poured out, guns flashing. The first shot cracked the air, glass exploding across the lobby. Rourke shoved Delgado and Miller behind a marble pillar, drawing his gun. Stay down. The firefight was brutal. Bullets ripped through glass, marble, flesh. Civilians screamed, scattering like ants. Delgado fired back, dropping one. Rourke clipped another. But they were outnumbered. Then one of the masked men grabbed Daniel Miller, pressing a gun to his temple. Drop it, cop, or the kid dies. Rourke froze. His gun wavered. The man snarled. You want the boy? Bring us the drive. Tonight. Or his father's blood is just the beginning. They shoved Miller into the SUV and peeled off, tires screaming. The decision. The USB drive felt like fire in Rourke's hand. Delgado's face was pale, her voice hoarse. They've got Miller, Ethan's father. We can't. Rourke cut her off. They don't want Miller. They want what's on this drive. He's already a dead man. Delgado's eyes blazed. And the kid? Ethan? Rourke pocketed the drive, his jaw like stone. That's the only bargaining chip we've got. If we play this right, we save him. If we play it wrong, they bury us all. The double cross. That night, Rourke got another call. Same gravel voice as before. Voice. You have something of ours, detective. The drive. Bring it to Pier 19. Midnight. Alone. No cops. No tricks. Or the boy dies screaming. The line went dead. Delgado grabbed his arm. You can't go alone. It's a setup. Rourke lit a cigarette, staring at the smoke. Of course it is. But if we don't show, Ethan's dead anyway. We walk into the lion's den, Delgado. And we pray we walk out. The pier. Midnight. Pier 19 stretched into the black water like a scar. The fog rolled low, swallowing the street lamps until they were nothing but faint halos in the dark. Detective Michael Rourke stood at the edge, cigarette glowing between his fingers, the USB drive burning a hole in his pocket. He wasn't alone. From the mist, black SUVs crept forward. Men in suits, guns glinting beneath their coats. And at the center of it all, Vincent Moretti, the last heir of the Moretti crime family. Silver hair slicked back, shark eyes gleaming. Between 2 of his men, blindfolded and bound, was Ethan Miller. Alive, shaking. Moretti's voice carried across the pier like velvet over steel. You have something of mine, detective. Rourke flicked his cigarette into the water. Ledger's mine now, and the boy walks free. Moretti smiled thinly. You're brave, or stupid, but you misunderstand, Rourke. The boy doesn't walk free unless I have that drive. Hand it over, or watch him sink. The betrayal. Before Rourke could answer, footsteps echoed behind him. Delgado. Gun drawn. Not another step, Moretti. But then the impossible. From the shadows stepped the 2 internal affairs agents who had warned them off. Guns already raised. And they weren't pointing at Moretti. They were pointing at Rourke. One sneered. You should have listened, detective. We told you to walk away. Delgado's eyes widened in shock. You're working for them? The IA agent smirked. Not for them. With them. Everyone wins when the ledger disappears. Everyone but you. The standoff. It was chaos. Moretti's men flanked the pier. The IA agents stood behind Rourke. Delgado aimed at them, her finger white on the trigger. Ethan whimpered, the gag muffling his cries. Moretti spread his arms, smiling like a king. Choose, detective. Hand over the drive and the boy lives. Refuse, and you all drown tonight. The fog swallowed every sound but the pounding of Rourke's heart. He knew Delgado's hands were trembling. He knew the IA agents would pull the trigger the second he moved. And he knew Moretti was lying. The choice. Slowly, Rourke pulled the USB from his pocket, holding it up. Here it is. Everything you've killed for. Moretti's eyes glinted. Good man. Now slide it over. Rourke took one last drag of his cigarette, exhaled smoke into the night, and smiled. Thing is, Vincent, I already sent a copy. Moretti's smile faltered. Rourke's voice was steel. Every newspaper in this city has it. Every Fed with half a conscience. By sunrise, the whole world will know who you bought, who you killed, and who you own. The ledger's not leverage anymore. It's a death sentence. The gunfire. The words hit like dynamite. One of the IA agents cursed and lunged. Delgado fired first. The bullet tore through his chest. Gunfire erupted across the pier. Flashes lit the fog. Screams. Chaos. Rourke dove behind a crate, firing into the shadows. Moretti's men fell one by one. Delgado went down to one knee, blood on her shoulder, still firing. Rourke sprinted forward, tackling the thug holding Ethan. He ripped the gag free, cut the ropes. Run, kid. Run. Ethan bolted into the fog. The end of Moretti. Rourke turned just in time to see Moretti raising his gun. Time slowed. The silver glint. The trigger squeeze. Rourke fired first. The shot hit center mass. Moretti staggered, eyes wide with rage and disbelief. He crumpled to the ground, blood pooling across the boards of the pier. The last Moretti was dead. The aftermath. By dawn, the pier was swarming with cops, feds, reporters. The ledger had detonated across the city like a bomb. Names filled the news, senators, judges, police chiefs. Careers ended overnight. Some men were arrested. Others vanished. A few turned up dead. Delgado sat on the hood of a cruiser, bandaged and pale. She watched as Ethan was reunited with his mother, sobbing into her arms. She turned to Rourke. You did it. The kid's alive. The ledger's out. We won. Rourke lit another cigarette, staring at the rising sun through the fog. No, we survived. That's not the same thing. The Silent Pact. Weeks later, Rourke walked alone through the city streets. Everywhere he looked, new faces replaced old. Corrupt men toppled, new ones took their place. The city didn't change. It never did. But somewhere out there, Ethan Miller was alive. And maybe that was enough. Rourke whispered to himself, smoke curling into the night. This city runs on silence. The pact never breaks. All we can do is fight until it kills us. He dropped the cigarette, crushed it under his heel, and disappeared into the crowd.